friends, it's Mari here for Honeybee Stamps. I'm going to be creating this really sweet A2 size shaker card for you today. And I'm going to be starting off here with one of my favorite shaker dies from Honeybee, and that's the Snow Globe A2 shaker. This is a really fun die set that will cut out that base for your shaker. You can just see that on my desk here. And I'm going to use this Crystal Kaleidoscope stencil from the Vintage Holiday release. I'm going to just use my magnets on my mat here to hold that in place over top of that die cut piece. I'm going to use one of my large Honeybee blending brushes, and I'm going to start off with a little bit of Kitsch Flamingo Oxide ink. I'm going to blend that through that Crystal Kaleidoscope stencil. You can just see me here blending that on so that I get just this really beautiful design on my snow globe background. And I'm just going to use a little bit of worn lipstick as well with the Kitsch Flamingo just to deepen the pink a little bit. And again, this is just a little bit of oxide ink here that I'm using, just using a smaller blending brush here, just whichever size I happened to grab when I was blending away here that already had pink ink in it. And this is one of the smaller, more detailed size brushes from Honeybee. Love that the Honeybee blending brushes come in so many different sizes, and you do have the option of purchasing the detailed set as well. There is that gorgeous Crystal Kaleidoscope stencil impression that you get when you blend through it. I just love that. I think it's so pretty. And I have also die cut out using the snow globe die a piece of acetate, and then of course the topper piece. So I've cut the topper piece out of white cardstock, and I cut the base piece again out of the acetate. And now I'm just going to adhere the acetate onto that topper piece of my shaker element here. And that's going to form the top of my shaker card. So I'm just going to take that clear plastic there and just go ahead and adhere that onto that topper, just using that little bit of liquid adhesive in that way, just to finish that off. Now I've set the shaker aside here. I'm going to stamp out some images for the inside of my shaker, and these stamps are from the Merry Little Mice set. I love this set so much. It's so sweet and whimsical and just really adorable. You could use these little mice during the year, not just for holiday cards, and just super, super cute. So I'm going to stamp these out with the Honeybee Intense Black ink, which is an alcohol marker friendly ink. So I'm going to stamp those out onto some white cardstock, and I'm going to start to color those up with my Copic markers. And I just use a really, really simple coloring method here. I start off with my lightest color, and for my mouse, I'm going with some cool grays. So I'm starting off with my lightest cool gray. This is maybe that's C2 or C1 actually. Just put a little bit of the C0 in the area where the muzzle of the mouse is. Now I'm going in with some of the darker colors to lay in the shadows. And so whatever, if you do use alcohol markers for your coloring and you want to try this technique, I just go from lightest to darkest and then blend the darkest out with the medium shades. So you're just going to see me laying in that darkest color again into the shadow areas and just blending it out. You'll see me blend that out with the lighter colors. And it's really, really super easy, really quick. And I love using alcohol ink markers for coloring my images just because it's so quick. And it does not take a ton of effort to get your sweet little images colored up. And I love this little guy. He's got a little carol book in his little paws, and he's singing away. And I just thought this was super, super cute for the little scene inside of my snow globe that I wanted to create here. So just finishing up the gray area of the mouse, trying to keep some of the areas a little bit lighter. I'm going to go in with an E01 to color in the pink tones in the ear and on the muzzle of the mouse. Again, there you'll just see me blend those colors out with my lightest gray color again. And just try to blend those in a little bit, blending the gray and the pink together just to give that little bit of impression of still of the pink, but yet a little bit of the gray mixed in there as well. I love how that little mouse turned out. Very quick and easy to do. I'm going to use a combination of pinks and reds and greens on the other areas of the different images that I'm using here, just to create a little bit of a kind of a more modern festive color scheme, I guess you might say. And really, really love the reds and the pinks together And you'll just see me here coloring those in with the different colors of Copics that I'm using here. You can just see the colors on the lids when I leave them over to the left of my coloring space here, but I'm just using the same colors over and over again. I haven't introduced anything new other than the ones I've used previously here for the pinks and the reds. I'm going to go in with some greens here now for the tree. Of course, coloring the base of the tree, a couple of green colors, but I am going to embellish my tree with some red garland and some pink balls. And I just love how it looks when it's all finished up. So just laying in that base color of lighter green, and then I'll go in and add some shadows in with the darker green as well. Just going to finish that area up there, and just really love that, the bright cheery green that is in this YG23. Just going to use a YG25 to lay in those different little shadow areas there. I love that the image has the little impression of the little bits of the boughs of the tree. Then I can just go ahead in with my marker and color those in. And just for the garland, I'm just using just the tiniest little tip of the marker just to add those in. That's one of the things I love so much about the Copic tips, is that they've just got, it's really easy to lay in some color with the very tip of the marker, because it's just got a nice responsive tip in that way. So here you can just see I'm just going to put in a little bit of color in for those balls, and I'll add a tiny little bit of a darker pink at the base, and then blend that with my lighter color again. So lots of the different blends, I'm only using 2 different colors. I don't even use 3. Super simple. You do not have to have 1,000 Copic markers to color with these alcohol markers, or any alcohol markers for that matter. Just some colors that you love, a couple of shades in each of the different color families that you love to use. Now I'm just going to use a little bit of gold stickles on the star at the top of that tree. I will let that completely dry before I die cut this out. And once that's all dried up, I can go ahead and grab the dies from the Merry Little Mice coordinating die set and die cut these pieces out. Before I do that though, I wanted to also add a little bit of clear Wink of Stella, and this is just going to add a little bit of extra sparkle and shine to the tree and to that sweet little mouse, and you will be able to see that slightly through the acetate in the shaker, and I just love how that finishes off those little images and just kind of brightens up the Copic coloring as well, and that will be perfect when it's all dry. I am just going to go ahead, like I said, and take the coordinating dies for the sweet little mouse and the tree. I've already cut the mouse, and now I'm just going to go ahead and cut that tree. And you definitely, if you use the stickles on the star, you really want to make sure that you let this dry really well before you die cut it out. You could also die cut this and then add the stickles if you wanted. Either way, you have to let the stickles dry really well before you assemble your card. I'm going to add a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of the tree and the mouse and apply those to the base of my snow globe shaker element here. So you can just see I'm going to add the tree and the mouse in there both with foam adhesive. I do end up adjusting where it is on the snow globe slightly once I kind of add the topper on there and sort of see, you know, where everything is sitting. I do move things over a little bit, but just to get the idea of that's how it's going to look. And I really love that. I think it's going to be super cute when it's all finished. So that's how it's going to look. That's just sort of like the basic idea of it. But I do believe I move it just slightly, and there you can see where the final placement of that's going to be. This is actually one of the dies from the Horizon Slimline Borders die set, and I wanted to create a little bit of a snowbank for my scene, so I took that that border die and created that wavy snowbank line just with a piece of scrap cardstock, and I'm going to fit that in behind the mouse and the Christmas tree just to make it look like they are out in the outdoors. And that will just finish off the little scene on the inside. I will take the topper, just place it on there just to see if I like the placement of everything at this point. I'm pretty happy with that. And so what I'm going to do is take my foam adhesive now and get that applied onto the base so that I can add the shaker topper over top. So this is just strips of foam adhesive. I'm going to take the backer off so that I can bend it around the curve of the top of the snow globe. And I'm actually going to add 2 layers of this. So I only show you adding just this first layer, but I do double it up just so that there's a little bit more space between the topper and the base of the shaker element. So that's all ready to go now. I'm going to take some of the sequin mix. This is Paris Cherry Blossom Sequin Mix from Honeybee Stamps. I love this because it's got little white seed beads in it. It's got some chunkier white pieces, and then it just has these really pretty pinks, and I thought that was super pretty. I'm also going to add a little bit of chunky pink glitter from my stash and a little bit of silver, and I'm just using my Nouveau spoon. I love this thing for adding sequins to my shakers. And here you can just see I've got all of those different little elements in there. Now I can take my topper and I'm just going to put it in the right spot on the one side and line it up carefully on the side and then across the bottom. And then when I let go of it, it's just going to be perfectly aligned on top of that foam adhesive. And there you can see the shaker elements all finished. And I am going to add it to an A2 size card base. But I want to add something else. I felt like it was missing some details. And I love this bow in the Pretty Poinsettias Stamp and Coordinating die set. This was a release from last Christmas. It's still one of my favorites. I love this set so much. And I'm going to stamp out that bow. I'm going to color it up with the same pink markers that I used in the rest of the coloring that I did previously. So the R83, R85, I actually added a little bit of the red into the bow as well. I've die cut that with a coordinating die, and now I'm going to use that as an embellishment for the top of my snow globe. Now this is just a gorgeous Tag Your It Holidays stamp set. I love this stamp set so much. It's one of my favorites from the Vintage Holiday release. It's just so fun. And I love the little fa la la sentiment. And I thought that would be really perfect for this, where the little mouse is singing. So now I have that fa la la all stamped out with some embossing ink, some clear embossing ink. I'm going to add some gold embossing powder over top, and I will go ahead and melt that with my heat tool, and it will just create this really sweet little sentiment that I wanted to include on the front of the card. So I'm going to take the Tag Builder die set, and I'm going to die cut out that fa la la with one of the smaller tags from the Tag Builder die set. And that will be just a really sweet little embellishment for the top of my card where I have the bow. Now this is the Holiday Traditions paper pad, one of my favorite paper pads from Honeybee. Honeybee, in my opinion, has the best 6x6 pattern paper pads. They are phenomenal. I'm going to add this paper to the background for my shaker. This is just a little bit smaller than my A2 size top folding card base. And now I've added my shaker element to that, and I'm going to start to finish up. So I'm going to add a little bit of Clear Wink of Stella to the bow. You can see I've added the tag underneath the bow. And the last thing I have to do is add a sentiment. Now this is the Bitty Buzzwords Holiday set. Love this set so much. And I grabbed one of the sentiments from that set. It says Season's Greetings. I stamped it out on some white cardstock with my embossing ink, and I added that same gold embossing powder and melted it, trimmed it out, and now I've got just the sweetest little sentiment for the bottom of my snow globe. That's it for today, everyone, and I have linked up to all of the different products that I used today from Honeybee Stamps. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you were inspired. I really love how this little shaker card turned out. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you another time. Bye-bye.